Take The Bill Press Show anywhere you go. Download our free podcast, search for The Bill Press Show on iTunes, and catch the highlights from every show.
And a happy 4th of July, and thank you for joining us for a special Bill Press 4th of July edition of the show. Coming to you live, as always, from a studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And what better way to celebrate the 4th of July than talk about one of our greatest freedoms in the United States, the First Amendment and the freedom of the press, which is, of course, under attack every day by the President of the United States. Nobody keeps us more informed on what's going on in the world of the media than Media Matters for America. A great organization. We've told you many times we could not do our job in progressive media, particularly without the work of Media Matters for America, because they do all the dirty work that we don't have to do. They watch and listen to Rush Limbaugh every day and all the rest of the right-wingers, and then put out the facts to refute their lies. And that's a great work under the leadership of Angelo Carusone, the president of Media Matters for America, joining us in studio. Angelo, good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Thank you again for being there, all that you are doing. On one related issue, we saw a tragic case last week of the cold-blooded murder of 5 journalists at the Capital Gazette up in a local newspaper out of Annapolis, Maryland. The services for the 5 journalists who were killed a couple of days ago, the mayor of Annapolis asked the President of the United States to order the lowering of flags for that one day in honor of the 5 journalists. The President of the United States said no.
Yep.
What does that tell you?
I mean, I think it underscores his hostility and antagonism toward the news media. And in particular, it's not just that he has this direct antagonism toward the news media. It's really more about the story that he's been telling his supporters, right? Which is that the news media is evil, they're bad. And so you don't drop the flags at half-staff for people that you fundamentally think are evil and bad, right? And that's really what I think it puts together, is that it isn't just the attacks every day that undermine the norms which protect and preserve free press and free speech, but actually it's the thing that really scares me is that he's already gone one step further, which is to vilify an entire profession. And then now you see the outcome of that. So it's the callousness and the dehumanization associated with it, which is underscored in this flag.
And to
situation.
take it that far,
yeah.
Right? That, okay, you don't like the media, you bitch about them, you complain about them, you call them the enemy of the American people. But, I mean, something like this happens, right? And you won't even show respect for these people as Americans, as individuals.
Yeah, well, there's no room for nuance in, when you're sort of following, in his first day in office, even before then, but in his first day in office, he started following the authoritarian playbook. We saw it play out, right? Which was you simultaneously erode and undermine any trust in the institutions that are responsible for being the arbiters of truth, which is journalists. And then you present a set of alternative, in that case, facts. They were even explicit about it. They said they're calling them alternative facts. Now, they got blowback and walked away from it a little bit, but the principle still remained, which was that he really wants himself to be the sole source of information and news for a very large part of the populace. And that means that you don't get to say that some of these guys are good guys or bad guys. They're all evil. There's no room for nuance. And that's what I think was underscored by the flag thing. It's unsettling at best.
We have seen many examples of Donald Trump's affinity with Fox News, particularly Fox and Friends. But perhaps the relationship could not have moved any closer to the latest from the White House is that he hasn't accepted, it hasn't been announced officially yet, but that Donald Trump is going to make his new communications director, Bill Shine, the former vice president of Fox News.
Co-president. Yeah. He was a vice president too, and then he had a bump. Yeah.
President, right.
Yeah, no, he was yeah.
I mean, how much closer could the two of them get, right? Or how much could they just be clearly one and the same? Almost?
You couldn't possibly get any closer than Bill Shine, because Bill Shine, what's important to understand about Bill Shine is that he's as closest He's as close a thing to Roger Ailes as Roger Ailes. And he was an acolyte of Roger Ailes at Fox News for years.
And helped Roger Ailes stay there despite all the scandals.
Yeah,
right?
and even beyond, and so he helped cover up for Roger Ailes. He ran interference for him during all the scandals. He, for some of the women that had reported Bill O'Reilly internally, it was Bill Shine that had engaged in some of the retaliation against them. And he was the principal decision maker when it came time to re-sign Bill O'Reilly's contract. And that's partly why he was forced out. And at the time, and I think we even talked about it, what Hannity was up in arms about the prospect of Bill Shine even leaving.
Right.
And it's because of what he really represents, which is sort of the core of traditional Fox News over there.
I believe that Hannity once said that if Bill Shine were forced out, he would leave.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how close they were.
Absolutely. And he, there was both business reasons for him not doing it and technical reasons. His contract had a clause in there that said if Roger Ailes were to leave, he could exercise and get out of his contract. They never extended it to Bill Shine, but in spirit, Sean Hannity thought that provision in the contract applied to Bill Shine. That's how much Bill Shine was a reflection of Roger Ailes, that he really thought that the part of his contract that let him get out if Roger Ailes left also applied to Bill Shine, even though he wasn't even named it.
All right, so Sean Hannity doesn't succeed in keeping Bill Shine at Fox News, but he does succeed in getting his buddy, Donald Trump, to make Bill Shine his communications director.
Yeah, and I think it's really, the way they're doing it too is I think an illustration of the next steps, which is that they're calling the title Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of communications, which is an interesting twist on. It's
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and that's showing that they have this intention of giving him a wider footprint than just being a very traditional comms director, which is a pretty big job by itself. And that's the argument behind it, that Shine can impose the kinds of rigorous discipline that you saw at Fox News to the Trump White House in a way that aligns them around a cult of personality, as opposed to, say, Kelly, who might be a very competent administrator, and even if he's ideologically aligned with many of Trump's policies, he's obviously not bought into this larger cult of personality in the way that, say, somebody like Bill Shine is pretty used to.
No, and it's more and more clear that Kelly doesn't deny it either. That Kelly's on his way out. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And Bill Shine kind of moving in and assuming a lot of responsibility, no matter who the new chief of staff would be.
That's right.
From what I read, it was reported that so Shine meets with the president, and then he calls a meeting in the Roosevelt Room of the communications staff and the press office staff, basically saying, "Hey, I'm your new boss. Here's how we're going to be operating." And he hasn't even been announced even yet having the job, but he's already directing the staff, right?
Yeah, and I think that he is going to be a Bill. One of the things about Bill Shine that to me is makes me uncomfortable is that at Fox News even though he didn't have a very big public profile, he is somebody that's not uncomfortable with exercising every single possible lever of power. And the thing that I would just flag for liberals about Bill Shine in particular is that he's a very big fan of the poison pill. And eroding things from inside. So he finds parts of, say, the left that he can turn against each other and weaponize through relationships or through direct incentives. He has a history of doing that at Fox, and even on his way out when he was in a scrum and was trying to save his job, was pretty aggressive about trying to apply every possible pressure point. And I think given this new perch, that's a real threat that'll be happening under the scenes that we won't even be realizing. So this, the Philadelphia Inquirer, cartoonist that gets fired, the Pittsburgh Gazette, paper, cartoonist that gets fired, and because of some of the soft pressure around the editorial direction, I anticipate that you will see that happening all across the country at every single news outlet, whether they be print, online, or television, that he's the kind of guy that would actually really shape the editorial policies, paper outlet by outlet, because of the way that he
and put pressure on all these outlets.
That's right.
I mean, again, this is the ultimate expression of it. But Trump's identification with Fox News, whether it was John Bolton, commentator on Fox News, Jeanine Pirro, they've been talking about it. She wants to have some big new job in the administration or whatever. The Attorney General, or who knows what after Jeff Sessions is gone. he was going to hire Joe DeGenova because he saw Joe DeGenova on Fox.
Yep.
You know, he talks to Sean Hannity 2 or 3 times a day. He watches Fox and Friends every morning. Andrew Napolitano, he gets his legal cues from Andrew Napolitano.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a creature of. There's no daylight between Donald Trump and Fox News.
No, there
Is
isn't. I mean, because he is a media creature at this point, and he gets the storylines, and he understands the importance of that. That's really it. The perception that Fox News can create, that any media can create, is really all that he cares about. He doesn't care about the practical policies. He cares ultimately about the perception that the storylines create. And the other side of it is that he understands the power that the media can have. You can tank stocks. You know, you can turn people against a particular brand or an outlet. You can get people in the streets. You can make people do things based off of the media. He understands the importance of it. He doesn't dismiss it. And you know, what I think where Fox comes in is that it's both an ends justify the means kind of approach to politics, with wrapped around a largely malevolent core, and that is Donald Trump. I mean, you know, that is a perfect. He understands that truly, and it makes sense.
He does. No, he's brilliant at manipulating the media the way he does.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. So, is there ever any critical voice or criticism of the Trump administration or Trump policies on from Fox News?
Inside, yeah. In fact, and this is where I think, you know, one thing that's a little bit of a bright spot, although it can go in either direction, is that, you know, last year when Sean Hannity started losing advertisers because of the Seth Rich stuff, coupled with most recently Laura Ingraham, you know, their advertising revenue is down anywhere between 20 and 25% across the board because of the losses. They're very deep. I mean, Laura Ingram's show used to have 38 commercials a show. She only has 15 commercials during her paid commercials during her show. Yeah. I mean, they've had to cut her inventory.
So it has really had an impact.
Without a doubt. I mean, 25% of ad revenue for Fox News is hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a lot of money that they're losing. One of the consequences, because this has been a steady, persistent beat, the media buyers have largely turned against the most of their programming. But internally now, it's reached this point because it's so sustained that you actually have Fox News executives who sort of operate on the business side of things, who are responsible for you know, getting the advertisers to buy these blocks of time, levying criticism against their own internal talent. And so there's been this for the last couple of weeks, and then we saw this come to a head at the end of last week, but for the last couple of weeks, there were some very senior Fox executives on the business side that were saying that our Fox primetime is it's unpalatable. It's bad for business. We can't sell the ads. One, it's CYA, right? If your entire livelihood is selling ads and you all of a sudden can't sell ads, you're going to blame, and they have a legitimate reason. So it's not like they. You're starting to see that happen. But just at the end of, because it's reached such a critical mass, at the end of last week, Fox's new CEO actually issued a organization-wide memo, basically telling people to dial it back, which was similar to Roger Ailes' course correction memo after they fired Glenn Beck. And it's because it has reached a critical mass. So there actually are some voices that are saying this is too bad, and it's those voices are their business side executives and part of their new CEO. But what happens there is what scares me the most, which is that it goes either two directions. Either Fox News is Hannity and Ingraham dial it back, which is actually a good thing. A little bit, it softens, it cools things down, or they start to cannibalize Fox News. So I think we're in sort of right on the edge of some turmoil there for a little while. And we saw what happens when they will cannibalize. Like when Sean Hannity went after Keurig, that was a Fox News advertiser. In fact, Keurig does a thing on Fox and Friends called Keurig Corner every morning now. I mean, they're a prominent Fox News advertiser, but were pretty badly damaged by one of Fox News' own talent because he didn't like something that Keurig, the coffee maker, did. And it's, you know, they are willing to attack their own sometimes, especially now that Roger Ailes is gone. So we're right on the edge, I think, of seeing some of these tensions bubble over.
But so if there has been a diminution in significant in ad revenue, we haven't seen that in ratings, though, have we?
No, definitely not. And that's the big question. One thing that there's history here. One thing that's interesting is that the ratings will stay the same as long as the programming stays the same. I mean, Fox's ratings will never really go down too much because there's this sort of baked-in audience and there's all these. I mean, it's pretty solid. But one thing that was interesting about Glenn Beck's content was that, after the first wave of advertisers fled and he reached a critical mass, he started to modulate a little bit, which is surprising. And he went through different periods, but if you look at the over trends, when he started to dial down some of his conspiracy theories, his ratings dipped proportionally with it as well. And so if Hannity and Ingram were to say dial back,
yeah, right,
some of the audience just tunes out. It's better for them to tune into the podcast with Mike Cernovich, or Roger Stone on Alex Jones than to watch Hannity. And that's what happens. They'll get their fix elsewhere.
I guess it is comforting to know that there is somebody crazier than Fox News, and that is Alex Jones, right?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. In fact, Media Matters is starting a civil war today, according to Alex Jones. I was mocking him on Twitter because I saw him tweet it out. I know, I was very excited. So I was mocking this ridiculous tweet, and then after I got done making fun of it, I went and watched the video, and literally the video was, Media Matters is planning a civil war. I'm like, oh my God, I should have watched the video first before I didn't even realize we were doing this.
And what are you starting a civil war over? Media Matters. I mean, he names the organization.
Oh yeah. Media Matters, George Soros, the left, and Media Matters is one of his biggest targets.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed by the idea that we were starting a civil war on the 4th of July, which I thought was interesting because it means we're patriotic.
Yeah, right. Sure. That's what 4th of July is all about, right?
But yeah, he is completely crazy. So.
You're starting the civil war against the rest of the
against Trump. It's an insurrection. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's really his big thing. So. I don't even understand it. I can't explain Alex Jones. I mean, here's a guy that thinks Obama and Hillary Clinton are interdimensional demons. I mean, who talks to Trump, by the way, every few weeks. He doesn't talk to him as much as Hannity does. Yeah. Still.
Yeah. And he appeared on InfoWars when he was as a candidate.
Yeah, he did. In
December. Can't be too crazy for Donald Trump.
No, definitely not. I mean, he loves the storytelling side of it. It's a fantastic tale. And couple that with the merchandising. I mean, all Alex Jones does is sell you products to improve your testosterone in some way, shape, or form. And that's his big thing. Because Obama put all those chemicals in the water, so you got to get them out, and that's why you're so weak. And it's amazing. His entire storyline is that Democrats made you weak and soft, and you just need to buy this Alex Jones juice.
Have we ever seen a network, a radio network or TV network, as loyal to or as supportive of a Democratic president as we have seen of Fox News and Republican?
No, I mean, nothing even close to it.
There's nothing even close.
No,
right?
And it makes sense, right? Because Fox News was born out of an idea of creating a political operation masquerading as a news network. I mean, that was...
From the beginning.
Absolutely, from the beginning. I mean, Roger Ailes had this idea when he was working for Nixon to create some kind of an apparatus. And even when they were... And you sort of saw some indication of it when he was working for Nixon as a media person, because they were doing those staged events, where Nixon was very jocular and they had those big, public setting, group settings, supposed to be, these town hall kind of things, but they were all actors. The people in the town hall were not actual voters. It was a setup, but it made him look, friendly and affable. And it was a media construction, and it's born out of that work that he did with Nixon was this idea that conservatives needed to build an apparatus like this, and he didn't really get the chance to do it until Fox News.
And so today you've got Fox totally in the pocket of Donald Trump. But is CNN or MSNBC, could you identify either one of them as totally opposed to Donald Trump?
I think that they, their content is obviously very negative, but I obviously there's a lot of criticism of him, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable saying that they're opposed to Donald Trump, because I think that they're still deeply enabling Donald Trump. Because Trump is a media creature and tells a story, even when their coverage itself seems negative, if it lines up with the same story that Trump is telling, it's not necessarily negative. So if Trump says, I'm tough, I'm a tough guy, I'm tough on borders, and all the criticism on MSNBC and CNN is how he's a tough guy, all they're really doing is reinforcing the narrative that he's telling. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't criticize him. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be covering him the way that they do. But I still don't think that either have actually learned their lessons of 2016, because it's so damn good for business.
Yeah. So what can they do? I mean, ignore it. You can't ignore Donald Trump. I mean, it's a conundrum that we all face, right?
Yeah.
You see these crazy tweets.
Yep.
Or when he says Republicans got to go out and vote for this immigration bill, and then 2 days later he says, I never asked the Republicans to vote for the immigration bill. You sort of have to, I don't know. Do you report that or not report it?
Right. No, there's a question of doing that. I think one thing that happens is that the crowds out. It eliminates the possibility that other people have identities too. So, for example, the person responsible for implementing much of Trump's draconian immigration policies was Secretary Nielsen from Homeland Security. And she should have been the face of that policy, not Trump, because she was the one that was doing it every day. That doesn't mean that, and so it's a conversation about Trump, but it also personalized it in a way that's very critical. It makes it about her. It makes it about the Department of Homeland Security. And when you do that, people become necessarily territorial and defensive. Nobody likes eating somebody else's dog food, unless you're a real loyalist, But
Right.
we've seen that even with Trump. Even people that are most intensely loyal to Trump, back away because they eventually you get sick and tired of eating it, like Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that the news media can do is they can make the coverage a little bit more holistic. You're right; it's impossible to ignore him, and I don't think that he should. I don't think just saying that helps either, and I wouldn't make that argument. But I think it's when Nielsen became the face for that 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
Things changed, didn't they? Real fast.
Oh yeah.
And I think, and that's the thing I think makes
and partly
is important.
because of that disastrous briefing that she did.
Totally, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff that's important is to make sure that we don't let all these other enablers off the hook. And implementers. And that is because boiling it all down to him is like a black hole. There's nothing, his brand is so elastic that, even people that fundamentally disagree with him, even if they're supporters, but they say, oh, that thing he said is terrible, I don't like it at all. They say, but he's just negotiating. That's just smart business, right? Because that's the story he's told, which is that this is what I do. Come on, I'm not actually crazy. I'm just getting out there to win.
Yeah.
And so they give him the benefit of the doubt too much. But that same elasticity doesn't apply to those around him.
So what happens when you get to a Fox and they're down the road 100% with Donald Trump, that this summit in North Korea, for example, just one example.
Yeah.
The summit is so successful and we have a whole new now peace on the Korean Peninsula. And then a week later, there are stories like North Korea is still building nukes or they're hiding them or they're figuring out how they can hide them from the United States and basically doing nothing. And so sort of the rug is pulled out from under Fox. Do they ever admit that Donald Trump's summit didn't change anything?
No, not at all. In fact, they're still making the argument that it's complete denuclearization. They're using the same language that he used in the first few hours after the summit ended, and they are absolutely in line with it, except for Shep Smith, who's sort of on this island onto himself at this point over there.
It's amazing to me that Shep Smith has survived.
Well, they need him because they have a broad.
It's
they have
1
Fox
hour
broad-
a day, I guess. That
It
they
is,
could, yeah.
and they need him for. They own all these local stations too, and they have all these affiliates. And Murdoch has plans to expand their local footprint in the same way that Sinclair has. And when there's breaking news at the national level, and they need to break into local, it's Shep Smith's face that appears on all the Fox affiliates all across the country. It's not Bill O'Reilly or Hannity or Ingram it's Shepard Smith, and so he has managed to leverage a important aspect to Fox, which are some of those licenses and their affiliates. And he's their only credible voice, honestly, that they can actually put out there that's palatable to their affiliates, and so. In a way, he has a uniquely interesting piece of leverage on Fox that nobody else there really has, which is they won't have anybody to put on air at a breaking news moment that's palatable to their affiliates if Shep Smith walked.
You mentioned Sinclair Broadcasting. Talk about the evil empire. I've lost track of where is their plan to take over.
Yeah,
and they were buying another 75 stations.
They're
or
buying.
So?
It's a little over 40. It puts them though. They'll be able to reach more than like 75% of the country.
Yeah, that's
once
the
that.
number.
Yeah,
that, okay.
yeah, and it's the first time that Sinclair is mostly operating in conservative areas, so they've been able to reinforce politics. And for context, Sinclair was running Swiftboat ads that even Fox News was rejecting back in 2004. That's how far out there this station, this network actually is. And so they're buying Tribune that gave them 40 stations. Most of them are in swing areas. And so where the deal is right now is it's moving along. It is still likely to go through. They may have to peel off a couple of the stations because there are going to be some markets where Sinclair Broadcasting owns 3 of the local news stations. And that's insane. And regardless of what their ideology was, that would be insane. So they may have to spin off a couple, but within the next 30 to 45 days, the deal will probably be finalized and executed unless something intersects.
And the thing that I find so troubling about Sinclair is that if you've got a Fox affiliate, like here in D.C., you know it's a Fox affiliate.
Yeah.
You know, you're watching Fox, right?
That's right.
If you're watching a Sinclair station, you don't know it's a Sinclair station.
No idea.
You think it's Channel 7 locally here, right? And then suddenly in the middle of the day pops up a commentary from this guy that...
Boris Epstein.
Yeah, Boris Epstein that Sinclair puts out there. And this is their content that you have to run if they own you. Right.
Right. It's a must run. You must run it, and you absolutely have no choice. And
but people don't know, so they think it's a local station suddenly with this.
That's right. And they replaced the talent. I mean, they've knocked out some 5 o'clock news programming and replaced them with local right wing radio hosts, and they're just pretending as if they're actual local news anchors. I mean, they really operate. And they operate as if they're a national network, but they it's all distributed, and that's what makes them so insidious, really. And it's the one thing that people still trust, regardless of their political ideologies, their local news. They just don't think it has an agenda,
right?
And obviously now it does, at least in the form of Sinclair.
All right, now to wrap up this basically pessimistic look at the media today, when I'm asked about the role of the media today. I usually make this comment. I want to see if you agree or not. That as just terrible as it is, Donald Trump's constant attacks on the media and describing us as the enemy of the American people, on and on, that he has also generated, I think, some of the best investigative reporting that we've seen in maybe since Watergate.
Without a doubt.
We'd agree with that?
I think that's one of the best takeaways from Trump. And there is that he has given a incentive for journalism again, for real investigative, long-form reporting. They will let reporters work on stories now for months in ways that they never would have resourced years ago.
Yeah. And you see it particularly, I think, from the Washington Post and the New York Times.
Absolutely. And I've seen that.
Too.
Even CNN,
Guardian,
for example, they
CNN.
added hundreds of reporters to their ranks, even though they're not on air, to beef up their programming. I mean, the resurgence of actual long-form and investigative journalism has actually has really happened a lot because of Trump. It's a good response to him. And I think it underscores the importance of the press and what they can be, and it's a takeaway that I think it will last. I think it will be a lasting legacy of Trump, is the recognition that kind of work is just too damn valuable.
Right. No, and a lot of the stories that we would never know if it weren't for the work of these journalists at all. Right.
Yep, without a doubt. Yeah. And I definitely agree with you there. Totally.
So that's one good bit of good news here.
Yep.
Yeah. God bless America. Happy 4th of July. Check out Media Matters. You ought to follow them every day. MediaMatters.org. Angelo Carusone, thanks so much for coming in. Happy 4th. And a happy 4th to all of you, friends and neighbors. We'll be back Thursday with the regular edition of the Bill Press Show. Have a great day. Happy 4th. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.